Hello everyone, welcome to day 2 of level 1. My name is Isabella and I will be your instructor for today's class. Okay, so I just quickly checked the audio and I think everything is fine. So let's get started with this session with a healing energy transmission. So this is not energy activation. They're very different. This is just healing energy transmission. I will close my eye for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You will look at me. One more so my forehead. And then you will visualize energy going from my forehead into yours and just let that energy absorb throughout your body so that we can have a fresh start to this session. So it's very much like the session yesterday where I also started off with the healing energy. So before we do that, I just very quickly remind everyone about the structure of today's class. So of course, we'll walk through some of the, I guess you can call it theory or general information of level 1 about NLG, about this energy and how to make the most out of it. And then we'll do energy activation. So that's the really important part because you need to have that activation in order for you to actually use the formula that we give you. And then afterwards, I'll go through the formulas with you, I'll explain it, and then we will practice one formula together so that you understand how to do it on your own. Okay. So right now, let's receive healing energy. And that will go for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I will set my timer. So let's get started. Okay, so we have completed the energy transmission. All right, so now I'd like to maybe just recap a few points from yesterday and of course go a little bit more in depth with more examples that are very relevant to our daily life. And so yesterday we have a really basic introduction to NLG. We know of the core elements of NLG in order for us to thrive. And of course, the most important thing is that when you have those elements, you understand them. So you understand the 5 forms of love and morality. You can then initiate responses, behaviors, the ways in which you treat other people, the ways in which you choose certain words, choice of words to converse with other people in ways that reflect your +1 -1 frequency. And this frequency is, of course, the cell's favorite frequency, and they actually need this energy to operate properly. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And just a reminder for everyone is that level 1 consists of 2 sessions. So we had one yesterday and we received the energy activation from yesterday. And we have today's session to complete as well. And you are, of course, required to receive the energy activation from today as well. Yesterday, it was the brain cell activation. And today we'll do stem cells activation. Okay. And of course, if you rewatch a previous class video, that's fine for you to revise a little bit if you have completed NLG classes before. But then if you are a beginner and you have not done any class before, then rewatching the previous class video can also be helpful. But just be mindful though, that when it comes to the energy activation, that needs to happen in real time. That means you need to attend a live stream class, for example, like this one right now, where you can see the little red dot with the word live on it. Well, not on it, but next to it. Then you know that this is the live stream and that this is happening in real time. So only when it happens in real time that there will be an instructor, of course, sitting in front of the screen and transmitting that energy activation. Or else, of course, when you rewatch a video, no one's going to be there to activate you, but the activation, of course, is recorded. So you can watch it, but it's not, it's no longer in effect. So just to clarify that, so that when you come into NLG, you know exactly how it works. And if you have friends or family who are interested in NLG, then you can also inform them that so that they can be very clear and so that they don't just come in and then watch the previous class thinking that they have completed a class. Okay. All right, so we're going to start this off with the 5 forms of love. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. So yesterday, of course, we talked about the first 2 forms of love. Okay, so we have the first 2 forms here, which are the first 2 forms that we will be working on as level 1 participant. So they are self-love and love for family. Now, once we got connected to this energy, it's really important to also be mindful that it's not just about having these elements, but to what percentage, to what level can we maintain ourselves in these connection, that is having these loves, expressing these forms of love, actively putting it into practice. And it is for ourselves, you know, at this foundation level, it is for ourselves as well as our family. And then we'll gradually work our way towards the other forms of love as we go. Now, it could be the case that some of you coming into this method and you might, you know, let's say in terms of your work or your daily life that you have already expressed and practiced other forms of love as well. So it is not to say that you should restrict yourself with self-love and love of family if you have already, let's say, have been able to express the other forms of love. Okay, but for the sake of class structure, and of course, a lot of us coming into this method, you know, with the idea, or maybe you with the practice as well of helping other people, but then a lot of the time we forget about ourselves. So it is such a good structure for you to have so that you can be more mindful, okay, and actually understand that I need to support myself first, physically, emotionally, mentally, so that I can be healthy and that I can connect to this energy very well. And then in return, I can then support other people around me. So it is not about doing huge charity, but then in your daily life, you don't take care of yourself, you don't take care of your family. You know, that means that there's still a lot of rooms for improvements. When you come into NLG and at level 1 and 2, we highly suggest that you focus on the first two. Actually, when you get to level 2, you move on to the third forms of love. But then at this foundation level, of course, the first two, which are self-love and love for family, is really important. Now, of course, the reason why we focus on love for family as the second forms of love is that we need to be able to express our love to a smaller group, okay? And in this case, it is the family. So a smaller group, a smaller community, however you like to visualize it, before you can actually extend this love to a larger community. And of course, for every one of us, whether we are a son, a daughter, a parent, wife, a husband, or grandparent, we all belong to our own family. And our family needs to be built with empathy, with love, with happiness. And of course, when we're in a negative state, okay, so we're being not so kind to ourselves, we're being not so kind to our family. What happened is we're putting ourselves in the frequency that is not in sync with the frequency of +1 -1 that we're interested in. So it's very much like when you have the wrong phone number. So you meant to contact someone, and then for some reason you just get the wrong number. So of course you won't get to the person that you need to get to. And that's why it's so important for us to be in this frequency of love and moral values. And if you're and if you say, look, I have already practiced these forms of love, then still there's a need to refine it as you go, to upgrade it as you go. And for many of us, we know about these elements, we know about love, but then the ways in which that we do things in our life don't really reflect these elements. And a lot of the time we think that self-love, it's about getting everything for myself. And because of that, we then use different tricks or different strategies to lie to people, to pretend, to take advantage of people, and ultimately just to take shortcuts to get to where we want to be. And so when those things happen, of course, in our mind, we think, you know what, this is a way for me to express love for myself. I need to have all of these things for myself, and I don't need to really care about other people. And, you know, look at all of the successes that I'm able to make from taking these shortcuts, from taking advantage of other people, and also doing things at other people's at the expense of other people's comfort, and things like that. And we think that we are the winners in that situations. But then from an energy perspective, we're losing more than we're winning. Like, we're not even winning in that situation. What we're doing is that we're losing. We're losing, first of all, the most precious things to us is that energy connection. You don't get to connect when you do things to harm and to hurt other people in different ways. And so that's the reason why so many of us got stuck into this whole dilemma of having to experience, having to witness, having to go through the 3 challenges that we talked about from yesterday. Okay. And so, of course, there are ways that lead us to successes and for us to fulfill our life in ways that we want, but we need to do them in proper way. And by that, we mean in a loving way with moral values being prioritized in everything that we do. And that's also the reason why, if you get to high class level, Mr. Lay will explain the reason why, some people are doing really, really well, as in truly well. And it's not just for a year or two, but it could be for many, many years. So they are very successful people for many, many years. And, those people actually have something quite special about them from an energy perspective. And we need to remember that what goes around comes around. You give out acts of kindness, that's how you will get similar rewards. And then in contrast, right, if you do something that's hurtful to other people, then you may not experience it in exactly the same way, but you will certainly get it, get to experience those things one way or another. And amongst many of the reasons why we become sick, of course, there's that energy relationship that we have. It's not just the things that we're doing now, but the things that we're doing in the past as well, and even previous lifetimes. And so Mr. Lay will discuss more about this as we go in level 3. And with this energy, we're able to resolve that problem, because it really is just a matter of energy connection. Okay, we have many different ways that we use to explain it, but from an NLG perspective, we try to explain it from an energy point of view. And we would certainly love it if, there are scientists maybe who are interested in this can come in and maybe study this, as well as, other people working in different fields. Maybe if you're interested, come and learn this method so that you can experience it for yourself, and maybe you could learn to make sense of these really new techniques of NLG. Now, we need to remember that we need to connect properly to this energy source, because only when the cells in our body receive this energy that it can then utilize it to improve our condition. And that's why there are so many people experiencing really great health transformation, especially when they recognize the core elements of NLG, love, and moral values. And they don't just talk about these elements, everyone, they put them into practice. So they are willing to change themselves. And at first, it may not seem like an easy thing to do, to change your habit, to change the way that you think about something or someone. But then as soon as they do it, there's that relief, right? And they feel a lot better. and they're able to forgive, they're able to empathize, and they're able to resolve unfinished, unresolved businesses. And we would like for you to take these core elements of NLG for them to guide you in the way that you speak to other people, in the way that you respond to the things around you, in the way that you face adversities in your life, even with the people or the things that you like or you might not like, or you agree or you might not agree with. And in case if you see really few improvements, try to ask yourself why. Because most of the time it is because people deep down are still really angry and bitter and upset about something or someone. It's sort of like on the surface, they are fine, they're lovely, and they say that I don't really have any issue with anyone anymore. I'm able to forgive, I'm able to empathize with them. But then as soon as they see something or maybe hear someone's name, and it triggers them immediately. And so there's still that resentment, that hatred. And for many of us, it's actually really relevant, right? We all have maybe that one person or maybe two people that when we talk about them or someone mentioned their name, that all of a sudden we think about the things that happen and then we feel bitter about it. And so that's why, on a daily basis, when we're not reminded of them, it's very nice, it's really lovely. And we think that we can be very calm. But in those situations, those are the things that you need to really work within yourself. It's not that you have to go and talk to that person to resolve it. I mean, ultimately, if that's the solution, then that would be nice. But what we want you to do is to actually work within yourself first, to try to alleviate that that hatred, that feeling, really difficult feelings that you have with that person. And so, as I've said, of course, the +1 -1 frequency. Okay, so the +1 -1 frequency, just maybe do a little recap about this really quickly. So, of course, this is the frequency that's based on love and morality. And if you notice, when we're happy, both our body and our mind, as well as our stage of evolution from an energy perspective, will also be aligned. But if we are sad, then oftentimes we are using or we're actually in a different frequency. Okay, and that frequency is not very it's not very motivated, it's not really kind, and it's not really determined and understanding of the things that you will be doing. So that's why it leads us to do or maybe say things that are completely inappropriate, irrelevant, and a lot of the time when we think back about it, we don't really understand why we do those things. So there's a need to really be in control of yourself and don't let yourself be influenced by other people or other things that are happening around us, because those things will happen nonstop anyway. So it's not about asking other people to have to change, but it's more so about enabling your own ability to regulate your own frequency. So that's the things that we can do, because of course we cannot ask other people to change, okay, particularly when they already have a really rigid mindset of the things that they want to do and how they want to present themselves. So coming into NLG, knowing these information, I hope that you would be more motivated to regulate yourself according to this frequency so you can find your +1 -1 frequency. And of course, when we're positive, we're able to create that great energy attraction for other people and other good things to come to you. And this attraction is certainly something that you need to work on. It doesn't come naturally, and it requires lots of self-regulation. control. It's very much like when you have a phone, and if that phone doesn't have any signal, no Wi-Fi whatsoever, then there's not a lot of things that you can do with it, or use it to its full potential. And so that's very similar to our brain. There's still lots about the brain that perhaps we don't know, and we now would like to use this energy to stimulate our brain cell, our stem cells, and for them to actually increase their capability and their frequency, so that they can help us to improve ourselves in different ways. And of course, with the brain, it's very much like we often take it for granted, because it's a part of us, and we, it's there, it's doing its job, and so we think that it will just automatically attract this energy source by itself. But the truth is, as excellent as the brain is, it also needs our support and cooperation, in the sense that we need to learn the right techniques to receive this energy, for the brain to absorb it, for the cells in our body to absorb it. Or else, if the connection is weak, then we won't be able to, do the things that we want to do. It won't be enough for tasks such as healing support, such as increasing our intelligence, etc. And so that's something that we need to create for ourselves, the +1 -1 frequency. And it's totally possible for us to do that. Our mind, it's, particularly when our mind is very clear, very determined, and understand exactly what it is that we need to do. And it is love and morality that we need to apply in our everyday life. And so yesterday, I also talked about the chicken and the eggs, which points to the necessity to practice correctly, adequately, daily. So both the techniques as well as the practice duration. And hopefully yesterday you spent time to practice the brain cell frequency formula. And if you have any question about that, make sure to pop them into the Telegram groups. And I hope that you had a great time practicing them, actually feeling that warmth of energy, experiencing that energy for the first time. And so it's really important to follow the formulas, everyone, particularly at this foundation level. You don't want to improvise, because even as level 5 participants, we do not improvise. We always follow the formulas. It has been standardized. And I mean, if anything, you can send us, let's say, feedbacks or something like that, or the ways in which that you interpret the formulas. And if you need help with it, then of course also send in your questions so that we can explain it in more details, so that you know exactly what it is that you need to do. Now, the benefits of NLG. So just talk about that very briefly as well. So for many of you, when you come into NLG, it is because you want to have the experience of health improvements, right? So, and that is actually something that a lot of participants experience. So it will optimize life and improve health conditions. And then after that, what we want to do is to maximize the brain's function, to increase intelligence and wisdom. Now, for a lot of younger people, younger generation, when they come into NLG, is not necessarily because of an illness or health issues, but they will also experience a certain degree of comfort and positive changes in their daily routine, for example, sleep and appetites and things like that, stamina, energy, etc. And then from there, they will certainly, I guess, notice the effects of NLG more, in the sense that it increased their wisdom energy. And then from there, of course, we're able to achieve maximum effectiveness at work, develop the highest career prospect. And from there, feel loved, feel harmonized with all of the relationship that we have to enable, promote, and enable happiness. And from there, bring positive energy into the next life journey. So these are some of the benefits of receiving NLG. Now, the cosmic divine light. Remember that the cosmic divine light, so you can actually see that in my background here. So the cosmic divine light logo, remember that it contains the code to unlock new knowledge, to access the infinite energy source of the universe, and the source of energy supports the development of humanity for an unlimited period and is enough for all living things on Earth to thrive. And when you receive this energy, what it does is basically energy brings this energy down to the central nervous system, including the brain and of course the spine. And you will certainly see that in a lot of our formulas and when you practice it, particularly when you feel warmth from practicing the formulas, then that will be very, very clear. Now, energy in the nervous system, what it does is it transfers the energy source to the nervous system and the entire body instantly. It affects 100% of the stem cells in our body to help our body develop. It supports physical health, intelligence, and support the superior evolution of consciousness. Now, the things that you need to know about, this is what's supposed to happen. So it affects 100% of the stem cells in our body. Particularly if you're fully focused when you practice. Whereas if you let your mind wanders off somewhere else and, or you haven't been practicing love and morality, and you're actually being really unkind to other people, taking advantage of other people, then remember that that energy connection that you have, that won't be very strong. And because of that, the cells in your body, they may not receive this energy fully for them to operate. Maybe they receive very little. So that's why we emphasize the importance of the core elements of love, which are the the core elements of NLG, which are the 5 forms of love, and moral values. And so that's why they're so important. So in this topic of the brain and the universe, of course, they share some similarity, which if you want to, you can maybe look that up. There is some similarity between the human brains and the universe, and of course, in the sense that they work collectively as a network. And of course, there's a lot of things that we don't know yet about the universe as well as our brain, and what we want to do right now is to harness this energy from outer space, and our brain is the thing that will help us to do that. We direct energy through thoughts, and from there we get to upgrade our brain capacity and enable us to do incredible things for ourselves as well as other people. Let's just go through that very quickly. All right, so before we talk about the formulas, I like to remind everyone about the values of love. Okay, so it is boundless, and it depends on whether you are accepting of these concepts, of these elements or not, whether you believe that it can create the miracles that you're looking for or not. And as you get to a high class level, you of course will receive greater values for you to save up that energy credits, okay, which in level 3, Mr. Lee will talk a little bit more about that. And it really is from an energy as well as a spiritual perspective. Now, when we talk about spiritual, I hope that you listened to the disclaimer yesterday. NLG is not religious. So when we talk about spirituality, it's more so about wisdom and knowledge, okay, from an energy perspective. So don't just go and assume that we will start talking about religion. We will not talk about religion. But there are certain things from an energy perspective that relates very closely to spirituality. And that's certainly something that we will explore as we go. So we're not going to overwhelm you with information, but this is the things that you need to know when you come into this method. And then you can make your own decision, as well as when you practice, you can also make your own decisions. Now, there are people who come into NLG with really genuine interest to learn, and they're very open-minded. And even if they agree or if they don't agree with a certain point, they're willing to learn. And those people are usually the people who thrive the most. Whereas people coming in very skeptical of the method, trying to nitpick some of the things that we say, or nitpick some of the things that we do, and then they, even though when they practice, they don't believe in their own practice. And for those people, of course, their energy connection would be really limited. Now, the thing is, we don't determine your energy connection for you. You're the one who will determine it for yourself. So basically, after we activate you, then the rest of the work's really yours. So if you decide to put in the effort, you decide that this is something that you want to do, that at least you want to explore. Maybe it's very new to you. You don't understand about it 100%, but you're willing to give it a try, and you're willing to ask questions. You're willing to challenge, the things that you knew in the past, and to adapt to these information that are a little bit new to you. Then you have the possibility of making the most out of this method. Whereas if you come in and then you try to explain NLG from a very specific perspective, maybe from a scientific perspective, and saying that this is not real, this is that, you're just missing out on the opportunity to experience it for yourself. Because these classes, level 1 and 2 at least, as of now, and it has been for a number of years, are completely free for you. So you take these classes online, and we give you the formulas, we give you the material, and what you need to do is just to come in and practice the core elements of NLG as well as the formulas, and then you get to experience these transformation for yourself. And most of the time, people coming in and they like it, that's why they continue with high class level. So it is really your own choice. When you come into this method, we don't force you to do anything. And so the effort, certainly yours, the decisions, certainly yours, and the choice, certainly yours. So don't stress about having to do it. Don't pressure yourself about having to practice or anything. But when you come in, we do suggest that you have a genuine interest to learn. And that's how you will be able to build a really strong foundation in these beginner level, so that when you come into high class level, you're fully ready, you understand the basic, and you're ready for more. Okay. So I might just go through the formulas with you first, and then later on, near the end of this live stream, I will activate you for the second energy activation. Okay, so let's have a look at these formulas. So remember that yesterday we practiced the brain cell activation frequency, which is this one here. Okay, so remember that yesterday I said that please take this opportunity to really practice this formula, because what happened is we will no longer practice this one after today, everyone. And so that's why there's a need. Well, it's not a need, but a suggestion for you to practice this yesterday. And so it just give you that initial experience of how to practice an NLG formula. And so after today, we will no longer use this brain cell activation. We have completed that task. And now we will move on to other formula. So one of the formulas that we'll be practicing on a daily basis would be the stem cell stimulation frequency. So I will go through the steps here with you. So step 1, receive cosmic divine light. New era NLG, level 1, frequency band, stem cell stimulation frequency. Step 2, receive energy into the brain. Receive first time, and then you wait for 3 to 5 seconds. Receive a second time, then you wait for 3 to 5 seconds. Receive a third time. Now, when you receive energy into the brain, it's very similar to the one from yesterday. What you would do is you will visualize energy from outer space entering the brain, okay? And don't bother thinking about what the outer space look like. Just visualize that energy. And because I went through these, the brain cell stimulation, the brain cell activation frequency formula yesterday in a lot of detail. And if you have put in the effort, as well as you're focused during class, then you would note that this is very similar. Okay, so after you're done with step 2, step 3, send energy from the brain into the ERC. So the ERC is the energy reception center, is at the back of your neck here. And so you send first time, send second time, send third time, and that will be 3 to 5 seconds of delay in between each time that you send this energy. And then step 4, continuously sending energy from the ERC down the entire spine to the coccyx, so to your tailbones here. Continuously support the energy, maintain the warmth for the entire spine to stimulate stem cells until alarm rings. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward, and you can read the notes here. Please read the notes as well as the practice duration before you actually practice the formula. And as I said yesterday, all of these steps here, 1, 2, 3, 4, when you practice it, what you would do is you will start your timer, and then you'll begin from step 1 all the way to step 4. Now, when you get to step 4, this is it continuously sending. So pay attention to this verb here, and also pay attention to the word continuously. What it means is that after you recite all of these silently in your head, what you will do is you will keep directing energy according to the instruction here. You don't stop. So basically, you don't just sit there and do nothing. You actually continuously sending energy from the ERC down the entire spine to the coccyx. So you're continuously doing this. So you visualize energy from ERC down the spine to the coccyx, ERC down the spine to the coccyx. So it should be a continuous thing all the way until your alarm rings, okay? And it is to prevent you from practicing the formula incorrectly. So I really need to emphasize that, because there have been people who don't really understand what to do after they finish reciting this step 4 in their head. And so my answer to that is you will need to continuously directing energy as instructed. So you don't go back to step 1, 2, 3. Once you get to step 4, you stay in step 4. Okay, and then later on, let's say if you practice another session, let's say 5 minutes and 30 seconds because you're above 18 years old, then of course, when you press your timer, you will start from step 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you stay at 4 all the way until your alarm rings. Okay, so I think this is pretty straightforward. Now, something as well is that when you get to step 4, you only recite it in your head once, and then you direct energy. Please don't keep mimicking the instruction in your head. Okay, you don't necessarily need to recite over and over and over and over again. You recite it once in your head. And so, of course, for all of these steps here, you recite them in your head. So you read them in your head. You don't say them out loud. You don't read them out loud. Okay. So I hope that everyone is clear on that. So let's hold on. Okay, so let's move on to the next formula. All right, so this is self-healing formula. Now, as the name suggests, it is a formula that we would use to give ourselves healing support. So please read the notes here at the bottom of the screen here. When practicing, keep your eyes open and direct energy accordingly. And the practice duration, of course, you can have a look here, it depending on your age, because this is a formula that you'll be practicing for yourself. So, step 1, receive cosmic divine light, new era energy, level 1 frequency band, self-healing frequency. Always think about step 1 as like a title or sort of like a command, okay? It is a request that you sort of put in for your brain, for the cells in your body to know exactly what it is that they're doing, as well as for yourself to remember and to be determined of what it is that you're doing, to be very mindful of the present. And then step 2, receive energy into the brain. That means visualize energy from outer space entering the brain. Receive first time, receive second time, receive third time with 3 to 5 seconds in between. And then step 3, send energy from the brain, so from the brain into the ERC. Send first time, send second time, send third time. And of course, with 3 to 5 seconds in between. And then step 4, continuously direct energy into the brain. That means from outer space entering the brain and transmit it into the ERC. So outer space, brain, ERC. Outer space, brain, ERC. That sort of thing. And you let the warmth of energy spreads on its own until alarm rings. So once again, you can see that in this step 4, it's a continuously direct, right? So that's exactly what you're going to do when you get to step 4. So you only recite it once in your head, and then you direct it according to the instruction here. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Now, this is direct healing frequency, which is the next formula. So this formula, you will be using it to support people in your family. I mean, generally, with healing formula, you can support other people, okay? Just other people in general. But at level 1, it's really important to keep in mind that your energy frequency should only be used for your family first. So we would start with self-healing, of course, that's for ourselves, and then we'll take care of our family first. And so that's why this direct healing frequency, you can only use it to support people in your family. So let's go through the notes here first. So level 1 participants are not yet ready to support people with neurological diseases. So just keep that in mind. So let's say if someone in your family is sick, let's say they have a sore arm, a sore leg, or a headache, stomach ache, then you can certainly support them. That's fine, but not with neurological diseases. Okay. Now, remember that this is direct healing. What it means by that is that you need to be there physically with the recipient. So you cannot transmit energy from afar, well, yet, right? When you get to level 2, you will be able to do that. But at level 1, you need to be there with the person. Because what you would do is you would place your 2 hands on the recipient's ERC. So this is the ERC here. And you will place your hand in this particular position. Okay. And this is how you give direct healing. And so for that reason, of course, you need to inform the person. Inform the person that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I will put my hands on your energy reception center. And so point out to them where the ERC is and how you're going to place your hand. Make sure that they're comfortable with that. Make sure that they know the basics about, what this energy is about, and actually are on board with you in terms of receiving this energy. So only supports family members because you're in level 1. So that means, for example, your parents, your grandparents, your in-laws, etc. And before supporting another person with serious illnesses, the transmitter, so that's you, must feel warmth for 5 minutes and 30 seconds during the practice of stem cell stimulation formula. So let's say you want to give healing support to someone with serious illnesses in your family. So what you would do is you would need to practice the stem cell stimulation formula on a daily basis. Okay. And if you have been feeling that warmth for 5 minutes and 30 seconds, then you know that's you ready. It's a sign for the cells in your body to let you know that you're ready. And so that's why you feel that warmth. So it is not, it doesn't mean that you practice stem cell stimulation formula before you give healing support to another person. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but it means that on a daily basis, let's say if you have been practicing for a week, and for every day of that week, when you practice the stem cell stimulation formula, you always feel that warmth. Then that means that you're ready to give healing support to another person. Okay. And then while performing the transmitter, so because you're transmitting energy, you are the transmitter, and the recipient keep their eyes open. So please inform the recipient that, and maintain a state of mindfulness. The recipient visualizes the alien areas, so they would visualize where it's hurting. And if there's many, then just focus on the ERC and the entire spine. So this is something that you need to inform the person. Now, on this side here, this is the practice duration. Because this formula is a formula that you will apply to support other people. So, of course, the practice duration would depends on the recipient's age. Okay, it's not your age, but it's the persons who receive the energy's age. So you can see here from 0 to 3 years old, transmission time will be 30 seconds to 1 minute. 4 to 7 years old, that will be 1 minute and 30 seconds. 8 to 12 years old, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 13 to 18 years old, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And above 18 years old, that will be 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's pretty straightforward. Now, of course, the way that you would do it is you will start your timer according to the duration here. You start your timer and then you begin from step 1. The only exception, okay, it's for the first group here, which is 0 to 3 years old, because you can see here that the duration is pretty short. So what you will do is you will start step 1 and then step 2, and without the timer. And then as you get to step 3, that's where you would press your timer. So let's say you set it to 30 seconds. Okay, and that's when you will start from step 3. Okay, and then you complete and go to step 4, and then you transmit energy accordingly. And so that's the only exception where you can practice step 1 and 2 without the timer. Whereas with the other age group, please start the timer first, and then you begin from step 1. Okay, so let's go through these formula. So step 1, receive cosmic divine light, new era energy level 1 frequency band, direct healing frequency, recite silently once. Step 2, receive energy into the brain of the transmitter. So that's your brain because you're transmitting energy. Receive first time, receive second time, receive third time, and make sure that there's 3 to 5 seconds in between each time that you receive. And of course, by that, it means that you visualize energy from outer space entering your brain. That's how you receive energy into your brain. And then step 3, send energy from the brain of the transmitter, so that's your brain, into the recipient's ERC. So remember that you will place your hand in this position. That means that you will sit facing the recipient's back. So you visualize energy going from your brain, going into the recipient's ERC. So send first time, send second time, send third time with 3 to 5 seconds of delay in between each time that you send. And then step 4, the transmitter continuously transmit energy from the brain of the transmitter into the recipient's ERC. So basically, it's very much similar to step 3, but it's an ongoing thing. It's a continuous thing. And then you let the warmth of energy spreads on its own until alarm rings. Now, some tip for you when you practice this formula is that because you need to place your hand on the person's ERC. So one tip is that don't apply too much pressure. Okay, or else you will have really sore arm afterwards because you have to place your hand in a certain position. So don't put too much pressure on it, and make sure that you maintain a comfortable sitting distance between you and the recipient. That would also help as well. Maybe looking at sitting at a similar height or whichever position that's comfortable for you and the person, but mostly so for you because you will have to sort of make sure that your hand position is very stable. And for a lot of time, when you support someone who's above 18 years old, that means you will transmit energy to them for 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So just imagine, placing your hands on, in a certain position, and how uncomfortable that would be if you, sitting in a position that doesn't give much support. And so make sure that you just sit in a similar height, maintain comfortable distance between you and the person. And something that you need to know is that it doesn't mean that you only assist your family members when they are sick. Okay, so even if they're not sick, but if you reach out to them, they say that, yes, I would like to receive this healing energy from you, then you can certainly support them on a daily basis. And if you have children, something's really, really amazing as well to assist your children. Now, particularly with children, because they're so active and oftentimes they would just run around. And so something that we do is we can transmit energy to them when they're asleep. Okay, and that's totally fine as well. Something really amazing about children as well is they're relatively sensitive to this energy source. And so once they receive enough energy, they will just automatically kind of their system sort of energy reception system or function, which is automatically switch off. And so you don't have to worry about, let's say, how much energy should I give my kids, or, do they end up with excess energy or something like that? Just follow the formula, please. Follow the age group that we specify here in the formula, and that should be fine, because children have that amazing ability, that they just, their system, the ones that responsible for receiving energy, is really amazing, really, really sensitive to this energy, and they just kind of switch off once they receive enough energy. Something that we need to note as well is, of course, you need to maintain your focus for the entire duration, because even if your timer is on, and even if you're in the middle of the transmission, but if your mind wanders off somewhere else, then of course it won't be effective. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Now I know that for some people, the way that they let's say practice other methods can be a little bit different, but please don't bring those practice into the practice of NLG. NLG is its own thing and it has its own technique. So please respect that, and make sure that you follow the instructions that we give you. And also, if you find it difficult to focus, that comes with practice. You just need to put in the practice, and you just need to make sure that you learn to be comfortable with it. And later on, you will find that it's easier for you to focus even with your eyes open. Now, one of the, I guess, elements as to why we keep our eyes open, like one of it, amongst many other reasons, but one of it is actually to train us to really focus in our self-control, in our ability to control ourselves, to control our mind. Because what happens is when you have your eyes open, is very much like when you interact with the world around you. So when that happens, usually the world around us just continue nonstop. There's so many things that are happening all at once. And so there's that ability for us to train ourselves to focus on things that we want to focus on, that we need to prioritize. And in this case, it is this energy that we need to prioritize. And so it doesn't matter what's going on around us. The point is to but really master that skill of, self-control. Okay, so now I have a few notes for you when you practice. So for level 1 participants, you will practice 2 formulas for yourself on a daily basis. And they are the stem cell stimulation formula as well as the self-healing formula. Okay, you can practice these formula continuously, so one after the other, or you can do 1 or 2 hours apart, depending on your own schedule. So you can come up with your own schedule about that, and you just practice accordingly. Please note that level 1 participants have received 2 activations, so brain cell and stem cell, can practice the level 1 formula. So I activate everyone yesterday for the brain cell activation, and then later on today, I will activate you for the stem cell. Now, if you miss out on the activation yesterday, I'm sorry to say, but you will have to wait until the next level 1, and you have to make sure that you participate in both sessions of level 1, or else you won't be able to practice this formula. Okay, now if you come in and you think that, whatever, I think that I can do it with just 1 activation, look, that's your choice. That's certainly not something that we suggest, but that is your choice. And basically, if you do that, it really is your own energy that you're using. It's not the energy from outer space. And the thing about our own energy is that we have very limited energy. And so that's why we don't use it. And if you notice, we talked about the outer space civilization. We talked about, drawing from that energy from outer space civilization. And so we never say to use your own energy because there's not much. Each and every one of us, we don't have a lot of that energy. Is very limited. And so it's not enough for us to do the things that we want to do here at NLG. So that's why we draw and we harness energy from the outer space civilization. So that's why we need the right techniques. It's very precise. So if you only come into level 1 with 1 activation instead of 2, please wait until the next level 1. Okay. Direct healing formula can be used to support family members as needed. So that's very clear. When practiced, maintain self-awareness for 5 minutes and 30 seconds and relax your mind. Now, if you're distracted for more than 30 seconds, don't count that practice. Reset timer and start again. By distracted, we means when your mind starts to wander off somewhere else, when you start to think about something else instead of directing energy. Choose a quiet place to practice. Keep your eyes open the whole time. Of course, you can blink because it would be very uncomfortable if you don't blink. You can find a focus point or an object to look at if you're still learning to focus for that amount of time. And also, if you cough or sneeze, that's fine. That's not, that doesn't count as being distracted because it happens in just like 1 second or even, less than that. So that's completely fine. You just continue on. And please avoid using fan or AC to feel warmth during practice. So a lot of the time, I understand that for some countries, certain time of the year is very hot, but the practice only lasts for 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So I hope that you don't sit right in front of a fan. It can be very distracting, makes your eye watery and things like that. And it's also the noise from it and everything, the wind, from it can be really distracting. So really try to, using fans or AC when you practice. If you sit in a room, like a big room, and then they turn on the AC or something like that, that's completely fine. That's fine. But don't sit right in front of it or like under an AC. Okay? Please practice the formulas as instructed correctly and daily. And of course, you need to maintain your moral ethics, your 5 forms of love, and the state of +1 -1 to achieve the desired outcomes. Now, when you practice the stem cell stimulation formula, and you practice it for the first time, and then the entire spine feels warm continuously for 5 minutes and 30 seconds, then you only need to practice the formula once a day. Okay, once a day. But then in contrast, if you practice it for the first time, and then the entire spine doesn't feel warm, maybe it's warm in parts, maybe, 1/3 of it, or something like that, then you can practice for a second time and a third time. So you can practice maximum 3 times in a day. Okay, so every day you will practice it, and every day you have up to 3 times to practice it. So you will practice it in a row, one after the other immediately, or you can do 1 or 2 hours apart, depending on your own schedule. So now sometimes, and this also applies to the direct healing formula, is that it said that you need to feel that warmth for 5 minutes and 30 seconds when you practice the stem cell stimulation formula in order for you to assist the people in your family. Now, something that you need to know about this warmth is that, of course, it's something that we want to work towards. However, in some cases, participants' sensory system, it's not very good. So let's say it's damaged, it's just not very sensitive to this energy or something like that. And so the other thing that you can look for as an alternative to this warmth is health improvements. So let's say you don't feel that warmth at all. Maybe you feel it really mildly, but then you've experienced really great health transformation. then that also means that you're ready to support another person, as well as it means that it's certainly working for you, but it's just not in the way that you feel warmth, but it's more so in the way that you experience your health improvements. Okay. And then for self healing formula, you should practice this formula at least 6 hours before bed, because late practice can lead to excess energy and causing difficulty sleeping. So in the case where you accidentally practice, right before bed or something like that, and then you ended up with all of these excess energy, what you would do is you will utilize that breathing techniques that I told you. So you breathe in through your nose for 3 seconds, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 6 seconds. And you do that 3 times. And then you wait for 5 minutes. If you still can't sleep, do another breathing session. And then wait 5 minutes. And then you can do up to 3 of them. Okay. Usually people fall asleep after the first one, after getting rid of that excess energy. And healthy or mildly ill people need to practice self-healing once a day. And in the case of severe disease, you can practice twice a day. For support healing on the same person or receiving energy from another person needs to be spaced from 6 to 8 hours. So what that means is basically, let's say if you want to receive healing energy support from Mr. Lei on the daily live stream, then you need to make sure that maybe before or after you receive that you need to wait for 6 hours, at least 6 hours, for you to then practice self-healing. So because they're both healing frequency, it's just that different levels, but they're both healing, they have healing effect. So you need to space it out. Okay. And that's the same thing when, let's say, you plan to practice self-healing, and then you plan to receive healing from Mr. Lei on the daily live stream, and then you want to receive another healing session from another energy participants, then you need to make sure that you space it out at least 6 hours in between those sessions, because they're all healing effect. Okay. Now, in case of emergency, let's say you experience fatigue, discomfort, you want to faint, then you can practice self-healing straight away, and you don't need to wait for 6 hours. Okay, so I hope that has been very clear for you. Let's see if I have some notes for you or any tips. Okay, so I think that's about it. And of course, there's the need to upgrade your love and moral values as you go, of course, so that you can match with your energy frequency that you're going to be activated. Now, I will go ahead and activate you. And before that, I'd like to show you this demonstration video so that you know exactly how to receive this activation from me. It is slightly different from the one from yesterday. So what you would do is, of course, you will keep your eyes open the entire time, and I will close my eyes the entire time. The activation time will be 1 minute and 30 seconds. And so because of that, if you experience any technical issue, or maybe from my end or maybe from your end, either way, please continue to receive this energy, because I'm still transmitting it in real time. Okay. And you can estimate the 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then you can come back in to listen to the rest of the class. But, hopefully that none of us will have technical issues, that everyone's here and ready to go. So basically, I will close my eyes, you will open your eyes, and what you would do is you look at my forehead, and then you visualize energy going from my forehead into your brain 3 times, okay? And you will count that in your head. So receive first time, receive second time, receive third time. And then from there, you direct that energy from your brain down your spine, all the way to the coccyx 3 times. Okay, and you will count that 1, 2, 3. And then you continuously support that energy at the entire spine. So let me show you this video to demonstrate it better. So imagine that there's this you, right? So you're looking at me, well, more so my forehead, and then you visualize energy going from my forehead, going into your brain 3 times. So into the brain, 1, 2, 3, from the brain down the spine, 1, 2, and 3, and then you keep it there at the entire spine. You keep supporting it there. Okay, let's watch it one more time. Into the brain first. 1, 2, 3. From the brain down the spine. 1, 2, 3. And then you keep that energy there at the entire spine, all the way until I say alarm rings. Now, one more time. Into the brain. 1, 2, 3. From the brain down the spine. 1, 2, 3. And then you keep that energy there at the entire spine. Okay, so I hope that that has been very clear for everyone. And I hope that you're now ready to receive this activation. So everyone, this is stem cells activation for level 1 participant. If this is your first time doing NLG and you have completed the activation from yesterday, then you're welcome to receive this activation from today as well, so that you can officially be a level 1 participant and use the formula. Now, if you have completed level 1 before and you haven't proceeded to a high class level, you're still currently in level 1, you can also receive this activation. There's no problem with that. Now, if you are level 2, 3, 4, and 5 participant, please look away. Don't receive this activation because this is for level 1 participant. And also, if you are a total beginner and you actually miss out on the activation yesterday, that means you haven't received any activation at all, and then please also skip this part because you need to complete level 1 in full. Okay, so this is the stem cells activation. The timer, I will set it to 1 minute and 30 seconds. So let's get started, everyone. Okay, so we have just completed the energy activation. So if you feel a little bit tense, your forehead or something like that, then remember that breathing techniques that I just shared with you. You can go ahead and do that now to get rid of that excess energy. And also another thing is to practice on a daily on a daily basis so that your energy frequency can match up with the frequency that you've been activated. Okay. All right, so now I would like for us to practice the stem cell stimulation formula together. I will read it out to you. I will share that on the screen so that you can see, and I'll read it out to you so you know exactly how to recite it in your head when you practice by yourself. So basically everything that I read out to you, you will be reciting it in your head, okay? So I assume that everyone here is above 18 years old, so I will set my timer to 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Let's get started, everyone. We'll practice this so that you can have that experience and, of course, know exactly how to do it on your own later on. All right. So let's get started. Step 1. Receive Cosmic Divine Light New Era NLG Level 1 Frequency Band. Stem Cell Stimulation Frequency. Recite silently once. Step 2. Receive energy into the brain. Receive first time. Receive second time. Receive third time. Step 3. Send energy from the brain into the ERC. Send first time. Send second time. Send third time. Step 4. Continuously sending energy from the ERC down the entire spine to the coccyx. Continuously support the energy, maintain the warmth for the entire spine to stimulate stem cells until alarm rings. Okay, so we have completed the practice session together. Okay. All right. So now I will share with you very quickly the QR code. I shared it yesterday, but just in case, if anyone missed it, then please go ahead and scan these. So we have the general notification channel, which is the first one. The one in the middle is the level 1 and 2 English channel. And then the one on the right-hand side, that's the chat group. That's where you can actually ask your questions. All right, and in the meantime, if anyone have any question for me, then you can pop that in the chat box. So remember the two formulas that you need to practice for yourself every day, okay? And if you don't feel warmth when you practice the stem cell stimulation, do go ahead and practice for a second time and a third time, maximum 3 times a day. And you can do that continuously, immediately after one another, or you can space it out 1 or 2 hours, depending on your schedule. So that's the stem cell stimulation formula. And then for the healing one, make sure that you space it out 6 or 8 hours apart. And the only exception is where it's in emergency. And if you want to give healing support to your family, let's say you want to give healing support to your mom and then your dad and then maybe your children, then you can just do that one after the other. When you give healing support to another person, you don't have to space it out for 6 hours, okay? You only space it out for 6 hours for the recipient as well. Sorry, as in for your, when you are the recipient, when you receive energy. And let's say if you want to support your mother twice a day, then of course for her, she need to wait for 6 hours in between the 2 sessions that you decide to give her. All right, so well done, everyone. Congratulations. I don't see any question here. So I assume that everyone understand, and remember that we have the Telegram groups for you to post your question on there as well. So congratulations, everyone, on completing level 1. I will post the formulas on the Telegram groups as soon as I can, so that you have a very clear version of it and you don't have to screenshots any of the content. And thank you for participating. On behalf of all participants here today, I'd like to say thank you to our energy founder, Mr. Lei. A huge thank you to the Outer Space Civilization giving us this opportunity to learn this method, to utilize this energy source, and of course for those who are working tirelessly behind the scene to make this program work. So thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you in our future classes. Next week, we will have level 2. So just keep that in mind. And I hope to see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.